Today's message, that is the third in the series on Imagine and using the power of our imagination to bring forth, to align with and bring forth the highest good. Today's message is what makes the heart sing. And I was glad that Reverend Saraswati announced about how to receive daily inspiration, because I wanted to start with one that came this week, which is this: begin the day knowing that whatever you need is already on its way to you. Begin the day knowing that whatever you need is already on its way to you. Greet people and events as divine messengers and enjoy the play of life. So when we discover what it is that makes our heart sing, and hopefully the message today will shine some more light on that. When we discover that, we can enjoy the play of life. Life doesn't have to be a burden. We make it a burden with our thoughts and our attachments and our expectations. So this third message is exploring how we can respond to this moment before us, how we can consciously and creatively cooperate with the infinite to bring forth the highest potentials for our life and our world, which is really to live in the awareness of omnipresence, to know that all-pervasive grace of God is already active in life, in the world, and our work, our job is to figure out how to cooperate with that. In the first two messages in this series, I focused first on that essential skill of letting the mind sink into the heart, getting out of our swirling thoughts, letting them settle so that we can become receptive to inner guidance and align ourselves with grace. Get out of the agitated, worrying, planning, driving, and sometimes dull mind. Open it up to the innate peace and clarity of the soul, so the divine self is revealed. And that's our foundational starting place. To cooperate with the infinite, we have to become receptive to that omnipresent reality that is greater than thought, and it's beyond the constructs of the ego, the sense mind, or the thinking mind. So opening ourselves to divine possibility requires letting go of what we know or what we think we know, and even what we want, so that we can be open. We learn how to listen. We learn how to ask new questions. What does life want? Not what do I want, but what does life want here? What is the greatest good that's going to contribute to the well-being of all? How can I serve that? How can I participate in that? How must I be for that to happen? What must I become so that this divine will can flow through me to be manifest in the highest way? So last week I offered a 3-step process for engaging our imagination as a springboard to cooperating with this omnipresent divine grace and entering into possibility. So, as I mentioned already, before we launch off into step one, or any step, is always get quiet, get still, open our heart, open our minds to the infinite, and be aware of our essence of being, that which is peaceful and still, awake, aware, and whole, and unconditionally pervaded by the soul's peace. Then the 3 steps, with clarified awareness, then we look at, how things are. We look with discernment, clearly and pointedly. How are things right now with this situation? And we name it so that we're aware. So we do this without blame or without judgment, without self-recrimination. We just say, okay, this is the way it is. This is the way I see it. And then the next thing we do is we access our imagination to begin to capture the vision of possibility for the situation to be transformed, to be in a higher alignment. Where there is brokenness, we imagine healing. Where there is lack, we imagine resources and abundance. We see it, we feel it, and importantly, we experience it. What would it be like to see this situation flourish, in a new way, a new possibility that can come forth. And then the third step is that we simply become receptive to the activity of divine grace that is always operant in our world, that is going to bring forth the highest good, better even than what we have imagined or even thought of. So we become receptive to that, and then going forward, we follow the lighted path. We follow the lighted path. We follow what is continually being revealed. Sometimes that requires us to change our course. The path that we follow, the lighted path, is self-correcting. So we have to stay open to that. So today I want to focus a bit on, how do we follow this lighted path? How do we begin to move forward? What is right for us to do? What is ours to do? One time, someone asked my guru, Roy Eugene Davis, that question, how will I know what is the right thing to do? How will I know what is mine to do? And he said, what makes your heart sing with joy? Do that. What makes your heart sing with joy? We know what that is. I hope you know. I know. That he was referring to the sense of soul satisfaction that permeates our entire being when what we're doing and the way that we're doing it, what we're doing and the way we're doing it is right. And I want to say capital R, right. Meaning that it is in accordance with Rita, that it is in accordance with divine order, the natural harmony of the universe, that we are aligned with that. And when we're aligned with that, the heart sings with joy. We're in our right place and we're participating in this higher harmony in the universe. The Taoists refer to that as primal virtue, capital V virtue. So it's not the conventional morality, like somebody else's rules, but it is this harmony that is innate to the source of all life and that flows from it. It is the inherent goodness of life. And when we are consciously connected to that, then joy naturally it flows forth from the soul and we experience it. That's the nature of the soul. Author and philosopher Jacob Needleman wrote, "The point is not only what we do, but the source from which we do it." That's really good, isn't it? The point is not only what we do, but, and this applies to everything, every single thing, whether it's cooking a meal, teaching a class, inventing something on your computer, flying a rocket. The point is not only what we do, but the source from which we do it. The metaphysical nature of that source determines the ethical, cognitive, and pragmatic value of all human action. That is, the goodness, truth, and practicality of what we do in our life on earth. Our primary and perhaps only true responsibility is to become individuals who are also conduits for the supreme creative power of the universe. Wow. All other responsibilities for knowing the truth, for feeling the good, for accomplishing what is useful and effective must flow from this. To become individuals who are also conduits for the supreme creative power of the universe. That sounds really big. It could be. It could be, but it's not, that's not it. It's not about doing something grand or big. But it is about being receptive and humble, attuned to that power, so that power can flow through us and accomplish this, its higher purpose for our lives and the life of this world. So it's about being receptive, about being humble, about being open to the source, to God omnipresent, to that which is. For every single one of us, that's about being fully alive, to feel our own aliveness, our joy, to be awake, to be aware, to be open-hearted and clear-minded. That is how we traverse the lighted path. Now I want to tell you a secret, which perhaps you already know. That is that the lighted path that we follow, the way of cooperating with the infinite, is lit from within. We are the light on the path. So when I say, let's follow the lighted path, I think there's a tendency to think, okay, I'm going to look for that light. But we are the light. You are the light. Our bodies, our minds, and our essence of being are the dwelling place of God, of ultimate reality. So the place to look for harmony, to look for guidance, the way to tell if we are on the lighted path is to pay attention to how we are doing what we are doing. Not so much looking for direction, guidance that's going to tell us, what to do next, but the beingness, the light of beingness, the light of presence that is shining within us. How connected are we to that? Because when we're connected to that, guidance comes. Synchronicity comes from the outside and we feel like the whole world is lit up. We feel like the whole world is lit up because we are lit up. We are the lighted path. It is how present are we to the presence? How present are we to the presence? How connected are we consciously to the inner light of awareness? Where are our thoughts, our speech, and our actions coming from? Where are they coming from? From the ego's need for power and urgency, desire for particular outcomes, from the mind's hurry and worry, desires for satisfaction, from the heart's love and compassion. Where are our thoughts and our speech and our action coming from? Or are they coming from the promptings of the soul towards truth and towards peace? I've been thinking about this simile. I'm not sure if it works, but I'm going to try it out. I had this thought that the mind is like a kitchen door in a restaurant that moves, it swings in two directions. Awareness moves the mind either towards the cook with a capital C, the cook, the divine self, or towards the dining room where all the conversation and sensory activity is going on. Our attention and awareness can move in either direction, and it needs to be able to do that. But in terms of following the lighted path, we want to be anchored in awareness of the divine self. We want to be connected to the cook, the source of all nurturance. I want to read from the Maitri Upanishad. When a seeker's mind is quieted in its own nature, in its own source, when a seeker's mind is quieted in its own source, that person is no longer misled by the objects of the senses, which can be deceptive and are determined by past actions. When a seeker's mind is quieted in its own source, that person is no longer misled by the objects of the senses, which can be deceptive and are determined by past actions. It is only by means of a peaceful mind that a person is free from the bondage of action. With a serene soul, one gains unending bliss. If the mind were as firmly fixed on Brahman, the ultimate reality, if the mind were as firmly fixed on Brahman as it usually is attached to the objects of the senses, who then would not be supremely free? When a person, having made the mind perfectly steady, free from distraction and from laziness, into that state beyond the mind, that one attains the supreme abode. The mind must be steadied until it sinks into the heart. The Maitri Upanishad. So the key to all of this is to understand that all that we do, all that we offer is tied to our own self, to our own transformation, that to how we are as the instruments of the divine. I think we all want to do useful things, creative things, successful things, inspired action. And we want to contribute. But sometimes in the midst of that, in our haste, maybe our haste to get things accomplished and to check them off our list, we don't see or we forget that we ourselves are the contribution that's being made. We cannot separate who we are and how we are from the contribution that we're making. We ourselves are the work in progress. We are the contribution, not just what we do, but how we do it and in what spirit. What we are contributing and what we are becoming along the way. Paramahansa Yogananda was a great advocate for the daily practice of introspection. Reviewing how we were doing what we were doing, how we are, whether or not we were able to be present to the presence as we offer what we're offering. What we are contributing and what we are becoming along the way. So following the lighted path is paying attention to that. Paramahansaji wrote, "It's a good idea to keep a mental diary. Before you go to bed each night, sit for a short time and review the day. See what you are becoming. Do you like the trend of your life? If not, change it." So of course he wasn't talking about, berating ourselves for the ways that we make mistakes and falter during the day, because that's going to be true for all of us every day. We're going to stumble every day. Pretty much count on it. But if we're not conscious of the stumbling, if we just, try to gloss it over, then we lose the opportunity to be on the lighted path, to be on the spiritual path, to be on a path of conscious living that is able then to make the course correction, which becomes, our intention for the next day. So in order to pay attention to the lighted path, to recognize if we are attuned to the divine self and stay open to divine grace, it requires that introspection, daily practice of it, to see what we are becoming, now as we re-enter, as we do what we do. How are we doing what we're doing? We're all of our thoughts are, well, what am I going to do? But the lighted path is how. How am I doing what I'm doing it? So we're not to just look for a product, for an accomplishment, for success, but to look to the heart, to the soul's joy. So what makes your heart sing with joy? Om.